was a lot. That was a lot of Poshmark information. I hope. Rebecca, remember, record the screen. Those lawnmower guys are out there again. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm so sorry. Just as a quick note, you should have the whole front, no. Well, here goes nothing. And I've got notes, like, this is gonna be a blast. So, let's see what happens. What's up, resellers? I'm Rebecca, and you are watching Rebecca the Reseller. Thanks for joining me today for a very exciting video. This video is all about creating a listing template. Well, I know that's probably one of the most sexy reseller topics I could cover, but I'm excited. It really gets me going. And I hope that you enjoy all the tips in this video to help you increase your sales on Poshmark, again, with a listing template. If you are looking to increase your Poshmark sales or just want some Poshmark selling tips, Poshmark tips, whatever you're looking for to help increase your sales and do a better job with your Poshmark closet and make more money on Poshmark, this is the video for you, I promise. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of my best tips on how I increase my sales with Poshmark by really working on my listing and creating a listing template so that every time I can make sure that my listings come up in search as best as they possibly can, and also that I increase the buyer experience and the buyer confidence so that they're more likely to purchase my listing once they've found it. So what I'm gonna do is share with you a few examples of some of my listings. Now, don't get me wrong, my listings are not perfect and my listing template has evolved over time. I actually tried to pull up one of my very earliest listings and I scrolled down and I've sold over 6,200 items just on Poshmark alone, not counting any other platform. And so when I went to scroll, I'm like, okay, this is gonna take me a while. I'm just gonna keep clicking the button and scroll down all through my solds to try to find the oldest one, because I'm pretty sure it was a White House Black Market skirt. I've shared it on my Instagram before, and I just thought I would bring it up to show you how terrible it was. And literally the computer froze and it wouldn't let me scroll anymore. And I waited like 10 minutes and I just couldn't scroll anymore. So I wanted to show it to you. Check my my Instagram or check my Poshmark if you want to scroll through to see some of the most terrible listings you've probably ever seen. But we all have to start somewhere. And I've learned a lot over time. And I think that I pay attention to a lot and I try to improve a lot of things and I test a lot of things and I make changes all the time. And that has really led me to what I think is the best listing template I've ever had, and what is really working for me right now. But we'll all start from somewhere. So you may just be getting started and this will leapfrog you way ahead of all of the steps that I've covered through my last 4 years of reselling if you do some of these tips right now. If you're a seasoned seller, you just may never have thought of some of these tips. So check these out and see if they can improve your listing. I really do think that having a good, solid listing template helps increase sales, helps make sure that you don't forget anything, make sure that your listings get found in search, and that it increases the likelihood that a customer will buy from you. So this video is going to specifically focus on how I work on my title and really mostly my description. I feel like that's the most important part of the listing is the description, aside from the photos, but we're not going to be covering photos in this video. We're just going to focus on title and description because this is the written part. This is the part that you can change in how you're editing, in how you're writing up your listings, and having a template can really have a good solid effect to make more sales on Poshmark, to make more money on Poshmark, and to just increase your sales overall. I do want to share with you just a quick commercial break because I do have a couple of reseller resources and tools in my Etsy shop, which is strictly for resellers. It's called Rebecca the Reseller. I've shown it a couple of times, but it's relevant here because I do have a product that is a result of all of the listing forms that I created for myself. And for a time, I had a photographer and I had a virtual assistant that listed for me. So not only did I use this listing template and this listing form that fed into the template, but I had my helpers use it as well. And so I really feel like they're very detailed. There's a couple of different types of forms and they're editable. So when you get the Google document that I have in the product, you would be able to edit it and change it to fit your needs as well. But it's a great starting point. If you know me, if you've watched me for a while, you know I'm pretty intense and pretty detail oriented. So anything I do for the most part is gonna be like super crazy, super detailed, super intense. And this listing form bundle has 7 different forms. Some are very basic and have multiple per page. Some of them are one listing per one page with like every possible detail you can imagine. And I use most of these forms for Poshmark, Mercari, and eBay. Right now I'm specifically talking about Poshmark because that's kind of what I focus on now. But before, I did list on all 3 platforms, and I did use these very templates, these very listing forms for my photographer to fill out when she took the photos. She filled out the form, and then she sent it to my virtual assistant, who listed from there using the template I'm going to talk about, as well as the form in this product. So you don't need to get the listing forms. I'm just letting you know that they're there if you don't want to create the wheel. I'm going to talk with you about the listing format in this video. That's the written part of the listing. But the form comes in handy when you're actually doing the work. If you're doing it at 2 separate times, which most people do, you do all the photos, you do your descriptions or whatever, or take the measurements and kind of note all the information, and then you create your listing perhaps later. Or if you have helpers, this is where it's going to be helpful. The listing form bundle. I also did a video just about listing forms, so I'll link that down below. Check that out too. And whether or not you buy the listing forms, that's fine. You can totally create your own. You don't need to buy mine. If you just want to save time, or you don't think that you're really good at making a form, or you just feel like she probably did a really good job just based on this video, then go ahead and check them out. It's like $8, I think, right now. I'm always running sales. There's always all kinds of different deals. And if you don't find anything you like right now in the Etsy shop, that's fine. Favorite the shop. I'm adding new things all the time. I've got lots of ideas. So again, let's dive into this video, but I just wanted to give you a quick commercial to let you know that that resource is there for you if it would save you time or would help you overall by purchasing those forms. That will kind of give you off to a good start immediately. This video is going to help you, as well as the listing forms video that I'll link down below. That will help you as well if you just want to do it DIY for free. So let's get into it. I have a couple of different examples that I'm going to share with you, and then I'm going to talk generally as well. So just pay attention, and hopefully you will take away some really great nuggets from this. I feel like this is kind of like a culmination of a lot of the things that I've worked on my listings for a while. So I'm pretty proud of what I'll be sharing with you today. You want to find a format that's going to work for you. For me, now that I'm doing it myself, my template looks a lot different than when I had a photographer and a lister. When I had a photographer and a lister, I made them fill everything out. Make them put every possible keyword, and it was very much of a form. It was very much like buyer, woman, item, top, color, black. Like it was very like that, and I'll show you that example. Now that I'm doing it myself, I don't have time for that. I really honestly don't. I'm a busy mom. I'm doing 4 different businesses. Basically, if you're not sure, not familiar with that, check out my videos on my 4 ways to 4K. I'll link that down below. And so I do more than just reselling, and I like reselling, and I'm happy about doing reselling, but reselling takes a lot of time, and I don't always want to give it a lot of time. So I do the most bang for my buck in my listings. I put as much as I need to that I feel like will help make it sell and help give the buyer a good experience, and nothing more. That's what I'm going to be sharing with you here. Let's go into it. Real quick, because this video is not about photos, I do just want to mention that I think you need to have a lot of photos. Now Poshmark gives you 16 photos, which is crazy town. So you should at the very minimum be telling the story of your listing with photos as well as the written information. And one of my reseller friends that I follow and is one of my favorite YouTubers, Chris Lynn at Daily Refinement, has said, and I kind of have been quoting him because I love it, he says you need to describe your listing like there's no photos and take photos of your listing like there's no description. And I think that's genius, and I love it, and I work off of that. So for your photos, whole front, top front, bottom front, any details on the front, brand and size tag, fabric info tag, care tag, style info tag if you want to look up a stock photo, the entire back and any details on the back, and if you want like top of the back, bottom of the back. So that you want to tell the story with your photos as much as you want to tell the story with the written. So I just put that to kind of give you that information, but I'm going to focus on the written part. So for your title, generally, then I'll hop into the examples. For your title, the format that I use is brand, buyer, item, details like, style, fit, fabric, embellishments, and then color, size. Now, for some items, all of those things are not going to fit. So that's kind of the priority order that I put them in. And then I rely on the fields or item specifics. In Poshmark, you don't call them that, but the other fields in Poshmark like size and color, because those are obviously going to pull up for search. I do write them as well when I have room, but if I don't have room, then I don't write them because they are covered elsewhere in the fields. So again, brand, buyer, item, details, style, fit, fabric, embellishments, color, size. Those are the things that I include in my title. I put as much as I possibly can fit in all of those characters. I know every platform is different. You can kind of, monkey around with them as you need to copy and paste it into other platforms when you need to. But that's kind of my title. I also put at the beginning if it's new. I should note that as well. I did not put that in my notes. So NWT for new with tags, or NEW for new. I do add that if it's new. But I don't say anything if it's pre-owned in the title. Description. So the goal of the description in my mind is to get your listing found in search through keywords. That's like your first focus, is I need to put the keywords in here that are going to answer the search of the person looking for this item, and nothing more and nothing less. And I also want to, once the person finds my listing and looks at my listing, I want to make it a pleasant experience for them and give them all the information so that they have confidence to make a purchase from me and not from someone else whose item also came up in their search. Now is a great time. If you have not liked this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. If you are a subscriber, thanks for coming back. These are the kinds of things that I include. The measurements, of course. I kind of have a whole separate conversation about measurements, but I will probably do a separate video on measurements. I think that's a separate topic. I have a lot to say on it as usual, and so I'm not going to cover that here, but you need to have your measurements in there. That is, I am of the camp that you should have your measurements in your listing. So things like a verbal description of length. These are not in any particular order. Verbal description of length, like knee length, ankle length, cropped, that kind of stuff. Neckline, the type of neckline that it is. Sleeve length, the type of sleeve that it is. Style, the item type. Fit, occasion, formality, print, texture, fabric, feel, weight, stretch, how you put it on, pullover, full zip, details, embellishments, color, and the list goes on. You can also put in interesting keywords that are designed to help it come up for the person that searches kind of weird. I'm going to have a video, I think, coming up specifically about keywords that sell. So those specific keywords that aren't really descriptive of the item per se. Like, it's not going to tell you what kind of neckline. It's not going to tell you that it's sleeveless or whatever. It's going to tell you that it's vintage, or it's going to tell you that it's cozy, or things like that. Those other boho, those other kinds of keywords that are descriptive of the item in general, the essence, if you will, but not like the actual details of the item itself. So those kind of descriptors need to be in there. We'll talk about format in a second. Then you also want to include your condition. If you have watched any of my closet reviews, I've talked about a lot of these things, especially description. So if you're interested in the closet reviews that I've done, I have a playlist down below of the closet reviews that I've done. If you're interested in purchasing a closet review specifically to you, you get a customized summary and a customized video of me just reviewing your closet and giving you tips. That's also in the Etsy store for purchase. But condition, what I usually put is excellent pre-owned condition, no flaws. So it lets them know that it's in excellent condition, that it's pre-owned condition, and that there are no flaws. That way, that's covered. And should there happen to be flaws, you can note what those specific flaws are, and it just gives them that extra peace of mind as a buyer. The final thing that I include in my description is what I call buyer confidence information, and I did a whole video, surprise, surprise, about buyer confidence and how to boost buyer confidence, all the things that you can do in your Poshmark closet, in your listing, like everything that you can do to boost buyer confidence and help a buyer decide to buy from you and your listing versus somebody else that aren't doing these things. So I definitely encourage you to check that out. I will link that down below. But the buyer confidence line that I use says, ship same next day, offers welcome, bundle and save 20%, heart for price drops. And I've toyed with the idea of adding some different things to this, like professional seller, packaged with care, things like that. Right now, they're currently not in my line, but I may put them in my line. I also am dabbling with some different graphics that I'm working on, and I think I'm going to do a separate video just on the graphics that I'm working on and different purposes for those graphics. So stay tuned for that, because I think that will be a really great video to talk about a lot of these kinds of things for a visual, like on the visual side. And then obviously you want to complete all the fields: color, size, category, subcategory, all that stuff. So that's kind of the general overall of what I had to say. Go through some of these listings. So the first one that I'm looking at is new with tags, Lauren Ralph Lauren, draped shift dressed, size 6. And then I have my inventory number, that's the title. I do put my inventory number in the title. You don't necessarily need to do that. I think there are 1,000,001 benefits to doing that. I did a video on that specifically a long time ago when I first started my channel. I'm probably gonna redo it, because it's not that so much has changed, but I feel like the way I make videos now has changed, and I could probably make a better video more clearly talking about that topic. So I will leave that for a separate video. But if you want to see the video that I did and my terrible way that I used to do videos before, I will try to link that down below if I can even remember what it was called, because I never called things what they should have been called. So there's that. But here goes the lawnmower guy. Talking really loud. Okay, so just looking at the description here, this you can tell is one of my older listings when I had a photographer. She would take photos of the item, first she would prep the item, take photos of the item, and then fill out a form, like a physical paper form with information about the item, take a photo of that form, and that all those photos would go to my virtual assistant who listed my items on Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari. At that time, I was doing all 3 platforms, and she would use obviously the photos that were in Google Photos. That's how we transferred everything. Some people use Dropbox, but we used Google Photos. She would take all the photos that the photographer took, and then the last photo was of the form. And so she would be able to review that photo, get all the information from the form, and enter it into her little template, which I gave her for the listing. So you can see that this is very much like a form. Brand, Lauren Ralph Lauren. Buyer, women's, item, dress, material, polyester, elastane, fit, shift, details, drape neck, short sleeve, plum, actually, yeah, I guess it is short sleeve. Size 6, color purple, condition brand new with tags, the retail amount, the measurements, and the measurements were very wordy, like armpit to armpit, inches was written out, it said measurements, like it was very wordy, this form. And not wordy in like sentences wordy, but wordy in that it contained a lot of characters and a lot of words, and that's why I went away from it ultimately, because we were saying brand, Lauren Ralph Lauren. Well, that brand took up a lot of characters, and so if I wanted to say other things or add a lot of extra details and keywords about the items, then we'd have to go back and start deleting other things that were part of the form, and that's why I kind of moved away from it. You could still do a version of this and have it look like a form, Lauren Ralph Lauren, women's, dress, polyester, elastane, etc., and just not put the headers, and you would probably save a lot of characters like that. Anyway, moving on. It had the item number 4408. It had flat because it would have gone flat shipping, and since we were doing Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari, we needed to have the weights. Right now, I'm not doing those platforms, so I'm not even weighing my items. Such a time saver, oh my God. So we noted the weights and everything in there. So if it was 11 ounces, it would have said that, but it's flat shipping. And then it had my buyer confidence line, which again, perhaps I may revise and change in the future. So that is one version of a listing template that I have used in the past. I have not gone back and like changed old listings. And whenever I come up with something new, unless I feel like it's going to really help that item sell immediately by making that change, I don't go back and change old listings. I just institute the new system on all the new listings going forward. And eventually those older listings are either going to get revised, because I do revise things from time to time, or will get sold, whatever, or may get pulled out of inventory unsold, and then I do something else with it to clearance it out. So yes, so this is one template. Another one is what I'm doing now. So this was a most recent listing. I did this month in May of 2020. So Talbot's Butterfly Fit and Flare dress, 12 with the inventory number for the title. Very basic. That's pretty much all I could fit in there. So it just covers the basics, and then the rest is going to be in the description. And right now, I'm not reiterating a lot of extra things. So I'm putting things in addition to what's covered in the title and what's covered in the fields. Again, I'm listing primarily and only on Poshmark right now. So for me, that description is getting pulled up in search, as well as the title, as well as those other fields. I don't need to reiterate it all over the place. So I'm just putting extra things. So here I'm putting linen, cotton, sleeveless, pockets. That's really all else I need to say. There are probably more things. I could have talked about the neckline. I could have talked about a lot of other things. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I will cover every single thing. And sometimes I'm in a rush and I want to get the listing up, and I put what I feel are the most important basic points, and then later I can always go in and revise the listing. But sometimes I only have 10 minutes. I want to get the listings up. That's more important than nothing. And maybe somebody's not searching by neckline. Like I noticed that now I didn't put neckline, I put sleeveless, I put linen and cotton and pockets and all these other things. I'm not perfect, but I put what I feel at the time is going to get me the most bang for my buck, which are all these other things. And then I can always go back in and revise the listing. So that is the details area. Then underneath that, I have the line, which is excellent pre-owned condition, no flaws. So that is an automatic thing that happens in every single listing, as well as if it was brand new with tags, it would say brand new with tags. Then I have the measurements. Notice now I don't write out measurements. I also reviewed how the measurements are worded and how I could shrink down the number of characters. So now I do chest laying flat, waist laying flat, and length. Before I had the words first, then the numbers. Now I have the numbers first, then the words, because I found it was faster to edit my template if I put the numbers first. So there's just a lot of things that I've learned along the way. I will probably, surprise, likely do a separate video all about my actual listing habit process and how I do all of this and how I do it as efficiently as I possibly can. Like, I don't want to waste any time, and I have a lot of tips and tricks for that. That's not the topic of this video. Stay tuned for that in the future. I do have a video on it that I did a long time ago. Same thing like with the listing forms and the inventory number. Like, I did it, but I don't think I did a great job of it now that it's been a year later. Like, at the time I thought it was great, but now I'm like, that was a terrible video. So now I think I want to do that again too. Anyway, then underneath that, I have my buyer confidence line. Ship same next day, offers welcome, bundle and save 20%, heart for price drops. And then I just have like a little code, which is for myself, which any idiot could probably figure out what it is. It's a hashtag. And again, I have a separate video all about how I use these hashtags, and will likely redo that video as well. Can you tell I'm just excited about all these different things that I've learned along the way? And I did videos about them. I want to do them again because now I know I can do them better. Anyway, so this code is how I do certain things, helps me find items, helps me just kind of see visually in the listing when it was from, that kind of thing. So that's like the Ralph Lauren dress was the old way. This is the new way. This listing template is clean. It's clear. It's as minimal as it can possibly be, but it allows me to add at that top line as many keywords as I feel will help that listing get found. And when I have time, I load up on those keywords for all that are appropriate. I don't put things that aren't appropriate. Okay, so that is everything I have to tell you about titles and descriptions for listings. This is how I have evolved, created my listing template over time. You don't have to do any of this. You can do part of this. You can take this and mesh it with what you're currently doing. I share this just to say, this is what I do. This is what has evolved over the last 4 years for me and what I have found that has worked. This is a very individual thing. It's your business. There's no right way. You do what works for you and what you find gets you sales over time on Poshmark. I wish you the best of luck with this listing template. Let me know how it goes in the comments below. Let me know if you have a listing template already. I would love to know about it. So go ahead and leave me some comments about it. I read and respond to them all. And I would also say, check out the other information that I'm going to link down below as far as some of these other videos, because I am planning to redo some of them, revise some of them, make them better. But the information is still good from the old videos. So you can always check that out if you're curious about how I use those inventory numbers, how I use my hashtags, how I do my listing process, and whatever other videos I've mentioned previously. Thanks so much for watching. I do appreciate it. I will see you in the next video. Bye.